Oh, Master, what do we do with you? So, this is just something that I found myself kind of idly thinking about and wondering. When the Master comes back, inevitably, because, look, it's not a spoiler or even really like a theory or a speculation that the Master will eventually come back. Of course he will. He always does. He's the Master. He's been in situations where he supposedly died way more times than this. So just because, the Master killed himself, or, the Johnson Master killed Missy in a theoretically a closed time loop. No. The Master will still come back. So taking that as a given, because it is, and also taking Michelle Gomez at her word that she is not going to reprise the role of Missy, what do I think they should do with the next Master? Because we've now had 2 iterations in Revived Doctor Who. And we've had, arguably, possibly 4 or 5, depending on if you want to count Big Finish, if you want to count Eric Roberts, which I guess you have to now that he's been integrated into Big Finish 2, and whether or not you want to count Peter Pratt and Jeffrey Beavers separately. But in short, I would say there's effectively 3 versions of the Master from Classic Who and 2 from New Who. You had the original Roger Delgado. You had your burnt to a crisp Master, played by a couple different actors. And then you had Anthony Ainley for the remainder of the Classic Who run. You had Eric Roberts, whatever. And then we had John Simm, and then we had Missy. So, where do we go from here? So when John Simm took on the part of the Master, it was very much going for a similar high-energy performance to match Tennant, but going psychotic with it, for lack of a better term. And I've said before, I didn't really care for, I'd say about half. Well, maybe less than half. I didn't care for the Series 3 depiction of John Simm's Master. I actually liked him a bit better in End of Time, and he was fine when he came back in Series 10. So, he was solid. I never loved him, though. But he was, sort of kind of bouncy, kind of manic. They emphasized his insanity. And with Missy, they had an emphasis on that as well, but they kind of made her more restrained. She said things that were consistent with the Johnson Master, but they were just slightly more restrained. So, you think of when she killed Osgood. And, I told you, bananas, and gone. That's a line I could totally see Simm's Master doing, but it would have been I told you, bananas! The big goofy, slightly more restrained with her, which I think maybe is a big part of why she worked better for me than he did. But the emphasis the last couple of iterations has been on the madness, for lack of a better term, with Simm kind of embracing it fully, and Missy eventually, in the course of an arc, trying to work against it, but it was still very much depicted as if that was her natural state, that was her nature, that she was trying to change and she was fighting against. So it was still working off the idea that her base starting level is unhinged, and she's trying to pull it together and do something different. So I think that the next Master we get, it's time to do what I actually think in some ways the show has been afraid to do. And even going back into Classic. I think it's time to try and recapture Roger Delgado's Master. Arguably, they kind of do that a little with Derek Jacobi, who I suppose I should have mentioned when I mentioned modern era Masters. But, you have to go to Big Finish. in the War Master series to really get a taste for that. But even that, it's not quite the same thing because he's going for just sort of he's a schemer, but he is way more low key than Delgado was. Delgado's master. First of all, as much as I love Missy and I love Derek Jacobi, and I can find things to like about the others, Delgado's the best master. He just is, because the determination and the severity, and you believe him when he tells you that he is going to take over the world. Which is why Anthony Ainley never worked for me. Anthony Ainley was the Saturday morning cartoon version of that, and I couldn't take him seriously. He was never intimidating to me. Delgado was menacing, but he also was suave, and he was even-keeled, and he wasn't insane. Or at least none of his behavior was. That really started creeping in as soon as he unfortunately died an unexpected death. And then initially having the master be the burnt to a crisp master, cool. Look, if he's going to look like that, sure, play him kind of insane. But then Anthony Ainley, with the cackling and the kind of stuff that he would do, again, they're playing up that he's mad. I think it's time to go back to a master who's business, who isn't just coming up with a scheme because it's fun, or because he's trying to prove a point to the Doctor, but because it gets him something that he wants, which is power, which is control, which is dominance over other people. Because, not for its own sake, but because he believes the natural order of the universe is for him to have that. And he is going to execute whatever plan he has coldly, calculatedly, in order to attain that. I think we're overdue for that master again. Because, like I said, we haven't really had it since Delgado. Not in its pure form. There's been elements of that. There's been bits of that. There's been hints of that. And again, this is not to knock any of the other masters. I've liked a decent amount of them. But we need to get serious again. It's time to put aside the fun master. It's time to make the master scary again. Because as much as I love Missy, she's not scary. She's unpredictable. But that's not the same as scary. Delgado could be scary. Now, who do we cast for this? I have no clue. I don't do fan casting. I can't get my brain to work like that. I can come up with broad strokes, and you give me names, and I can sort of assess do I think they can pull off what I'm talking about? But actually coming up with those names in the first place, I have no idea. And also, I know I've been saying he the whole time. That's kind of my default because I'm talking about reviving a version of the Doctor, and not literally. I'm not saying we have that regeneration come back, but reviving a take and a style on the master that is rooted in a man playing it. But don't mistake me. You could have this kind of master played by a woman. If that does happen, though, I am going to have one caveat. If the master remains a woman, she shouldn't be called Missy anymore. Because to my mind, Missy is very specifically Michelle Gomez. As much as I feel Missy is true to the master and is true to that character, it does feel very much like a very specific and unique thing to her. Not to mention the fact, I just think it would be kind of cool that the master shows up again, is a woman, and imagine the Doctor calling her Missy. She just snaps back, no, call me Master. And if you got the right actress to deliver that could be chilling. So, and it could be a woman, it could be a man. By all means, heck, any option. Go wild. But I think the feel and the vibe, what it's time to bring back, is the master who has a plan, not because he can't stop from scheming, but because he has a goal. something specific, something that he knows exactly what he's after. And the other thing is, if the master comes back, the master, I would say the master actually needs to start smaller scale and needs to win a few cases. The master needs to best the doctor. And I don't mean short term. I don't mean like Last of the Time Lord, Sound of Drums, where he beats the doctor until the doctor's plan to overcome him eventually kicks it. No. I mean, like, have some encounters, have some skirmishes that the doctor just loses. Now, these can't be the huge scale, the master enacting the big plans thing. But, like, some skirmishes along the way. They encounter each other. The master's trying to accomplish something. And we know what he's doing in the immediate sense, but we don't know if this is part of some master plan. But we just know he's doing this thing, and it can't be good. And the doctor can't stop him. Have some of that. Reestablish him as somebody who can best the doctor. As somebody that the doctor and the audience should be legitimately afraid of. That's what I want to see. Whenever we get the next master. Whether it'll be Series 12, 13, Series 18. Who knows? But at some point, the master will come back. And this is what I would like to see. What are your thoughts? What do you want to see in the next master? Whatever your thoughts are. Drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. There's a whole bunch of stuff to do down there as well, because buttons, links, subscribe, likes, they help, I guess. Patreon support if you really like what I do and you want to help make the show better. And all sorts of links to merch and my social media stuff. And, click on some of them. The links will take you places. You also don't have to. Because at the end of the day, folks, it's you who are the council, and I'm just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned.